Hi and welcome to all the racing fans joining us for this Gallop TV pre-recorded show, which is recorded early doors on Tuesday morning for the Wednesday meeting at Hollywoodbets Greyville on the Poly track, an 8-race program commencing at 12:45. In studio with me is Warren Lenferner. We'll be taking you through the 8 races. Firstly, Warren, how are you doing? And then secondly, looking at the card, a couple of easy races and a couple of very difficult races.
Yes, Sheldon, firstly, I'm well, thank you, and lovely to be working alongside you again, which is fabulous. And the card, yes, just chatting to you off air, the early part of the card, I don't know if there's such a thing as an easy card, but the first part looks a lot easier than the second half. Second half is a lot more competitive. But let's get into it and let's have some enjoyment together and try our very best to steer the public in the right direction. The first race is at 12:45, which is the Bet with Tab Gold, the Intelligent Bet Open Maiden. It's over 1,200 meters, and it is the first leg of the bipod, Sheldon, and a week race to open proceedings.
Yes, looking at race number 1 over the 1,200 meter trip, number 4 River Dance and number 2 Higher Love, 22-10 and 28-10 respectively. Number 6 Fire Tiger, just had the 1 run to date as 9-2. Number 5 Bring the Magic from 10-1 down 8-1, and after that you can get 10s and 12-1, better the rest. Race number 1, 1,200 meters. Let's start off with number 4, River Dance, who did finish third to Magma Magic, who's run a cracker since that. 3 runs back, third to Capalino. And then you bring Higher Love into the equation, and on that Mac Dazzler run was also alongside River Dance. Now, River Dance, obviously the Vercingetorix. We know Michael Flatley and the group. The River Dance, they do all the lovely stuff on the stage.
Yep, they certainly do indeed, and it's a Vercingetorix, as you say, who's quite a good-looking horse, but I don't think he's going to get much of an easier opportunity, Sheldon, to get it all right and not to give away any secrets. I'm not looking for an upset. I'm looking for River Dance to win. I'm looking for a horse like Higher Love to run second. A big improvement from Fire Tiger. Bring the Magic as a trifecta quartet type of horse, but yeah, you know, as I said to you off air, Higher Love in his last couple of starts has been at long odds. Now I understand that the strength of the field is not great, hence around 5-2 in the betting. I'm not so sure, but I'm looking for River Dance to get it all right. Had less, 7 starts. They've had the same amount of starts, 7 starts each, but I think River Dance could be the right one.
I'm with you there. Number 4, River Dance, is going to be my first selection, and hopefully all things work out in the favour. And just looking at the race, it's an open maiden, so the guys must take note of the best weighted column. You'll see the different weights for the different runners. So I'm going to be number 4, River Dance's follower, to beat number 2, Higher Love, and then number 5, Bring the Magic, at around 8 and 10-1, with the claiming apprentice, Mkholiso Mbuto, taking the 4 kgs off the back for the exactors and trifectas in race number 1.
Race 2 on the card at Hollywoodbets Greyville Poly track. As you always know, we do this recording more than 24 hours before the racing takes place, so please check your changes, scratchings, jockey changes, betting moves before taking your final bets. And in race 2, scratched is number 12 Bayola. That takes no part, so there has been some betting adjustments already. Blinkers are on number 7, Kasari. Second race is an open maiden for fillies and mares, 1,200 meters, first leg of the PA, 1:15. Sheldon, again, not too much to work with. Roy's Grace, I really like the way this filly ran on in her last start. She was just didn't get there in time, Roy's Grace. She's itching to win. She looks ready to win. She's been improving with each and every start. Paul Gadsby, Roy Mudley, Raymond Danielson's in town. Lovely to see him travelling. She's only had the 1 run on the Poly track, which wasn't the greatest, but I suppose she was, only at her second start. She was still learning. She was still improving. So I think she's a big runner. She's a rocket. Ran 5th 7 lengths to Faithful Nao in Gauteng. That form line hasn't really sparked up well at all. So that worries me a bit, but I am expecting her to run well. She's found a average field. She has been competing on the high felt. She gets gate 1. She gets Shaunville. I respect her. I would say strong each way chance, but I'm rubbing in with the favourite, Roy's Grace. I'm not looking for too many surprises. 6 from 1 rather are my numbers.
Well, in the second race, I'm going to go with number 1, She's a Rocket, ahead of number 6, Roy's Grace. I thought when the 4-1 was available, first run for the new yard, Stuart Ferry, previously with the Tony Peters stable. And when I looked at this captain of all, I just thought first time out, they had Gavin Lorena up. The money came for this individual, showed speed and lacked extra late. Next time out was well fancied, disappointing. Last time drifted in the betting. But 4-1 for me, I thought was overpriced. Shortened 5-2 now, so I took some of that 4-1 on She's a Rocket. My only concern is the 1200. If it was 1,000 meters, I would lump on. I think that should be an absolute good thing in this field. But being at 1,200, that brings Roy's Grace right into it, because this is a horse who went over the extended trip last time, 1,400, and was staying on very strongly. But number 1, She's a Rocket, Stuart Ferry, 50 days since the last run. Shaunville from that 1 draw. Now, very interesting, being an open maiden, 55 kilograms. So the 6.5 kilograms between She's a Rocket and Roy's Grace, and I think that could be the deal sealer. So I'm going to be with number 1, She's a Rocket, and just hope that the finishing line comes in time. Roy's Grace will be eating into the lead late on, very, very consistent, and that's going to be the main danger. And then when you look past those runners, not too much to get excited about. Maybe number 2, Predator Surprise. If you draw a line through that last effort, could be in the shake-up. But the structuring of the weights, number 1, She's a Rocket with 55 on the back. I think this is the horse to beat.
Well, there we go. We said at the beginning of the show that the first half of the card looked easier than the second half. First race, 4-2, 4-2, 2-4 our numbers. The second race, Sheldon's gone with She's a Rocket, who's certainly got a big winning chance. I've gone with Roy's Grace. So maybe the suggestion for the second race is to A, go light, and to B, maybe some boxed exactas. 1, She's a Rocket, and 6, Roy's Grace, because those are the 2 that we like for race number 2.
As we move along to race number 3 and looking at the distance, 1,800 meters, due off at 1,350, all things being equal. And just taking a look at the betting, El Capitan from the Gareth Van Zyl stable with stable jockey Shaunville aboard is the current favourite at 18-10. Number 7, City Lights comes to KwaZulu-Natal from the Fani Bronkhorst stable, 9-2. And then we have number 1, Freddie Slater, at around 5-1. Now, once again, Warren, it's an open maiden, so you got to have a look at the structuring of the weights here. And when looking at number 6, El Capitan, he's a horse who's obviously got ability. He started off in Cape Town, and his earlier form, Lion Rampart, Talk to the Master, would be too good for this field. But he did come back to KwaZulu-Natal, and I wouldn't say disappointing, but I expected him to win his penultimate. And then last time out, he just fought the rider. He over-raced. He was very, very difficult. If he settles, no race. If he settles, that's the big question going the 1,800. So I'm sure they would have tried a few different bits, a few little different things back home. Shaunville would have worked him. And if he settles in the running, I think he's going to be very, very tough to beat. So El Capitan, the one to beat. The filly City Lights, nice run. I think she's going to be involved. And I know number 8, the Wolf, you liked last time out. And I put a tick next to this horse. I said next time this horse goes over a bit further, you'll see the best of the Wolf. So I'll probably go the horse to beat, very strong in my eyes, is going to be number 6, El Capitan, if settling. And the main danger for me is going to be number 8, the Wolf.
Yeah, the Wolf, I'm on the fence with the Wolf, because you're quite right. I've liked him in actual fact in his second and third start, but he was charging home nicely in his last run over 1,600. He now gets the 18, so we'll certainly include and respect the Wolf. I'm in your camp. We haven't compared notes. We certainly have only discussed this when we arrived at the studio. I'm taking a chance. I'm just going to take it and hope and pray that El Capitan does settle, and that Sean Veal, I'm sure, is going to be able to control him, around here at Hollywoodbets Greyville, because I'm bankering him. First leg of the Pick Six, I'll know my fate, in or out. I like him a lot. You've stated the case. I don't need to state the case again. So I am in his camp. I'm going to take a chance that he's going to settle and that he'll behave in the running. You've touched on City Lights, you've touched on the Wolf. Just one other glorious butterfly for Dennis Bosch, Solly Barner. And for me, he's a bit of a draw strike. Last time was 10 out of 10 at Hollywoodbets Scottsville over 1600. Now gets a lovely, cozy, neat draw of 3 here at Hollywoodbets Greyville. 54 less 1.5 from Rachel Venica, gets 52.5. So I think you must include Glorious Butterfly as well. But after all is said and done, if El Capitan doesn't win the first leg of the Pick Six, I'll be looking to take a jackpot.
Well, there we go. And once again, just looking at the structuring of the weights, obviously we're learning about the new class races and the weight structuring. You'll notice that the selection we're going with is carrying 60.5 kilograms. City Lights has got 54 on the back, so there's a big difference in the weights, and the Wolf's got 56.5. So meeting by meeting, we're going to learn a little bit more, but El Capitan hopefully settles and brings home the money.
Fourth race on the card is the Gallop TV Class 4 for fillies and mares. It's for fillies and mares where the benchmark is at 60 kgs equals 75. That's what the race is all about. It's 1,800 meters, and they're racing for a gross stake of 110,000 Rand. 25 past 2 is the off time, and the time of recording, no scratchings or jockey changes. Now Sheldon, here's where it starts getting a little more exciting, a little more tricky. But I just want to start off with a horse that is my value selection on the day. By no means a good thing, but if she were to win, I wouldn't be shocked. And that's number 10, Fire Burst. She's by fire away out of Rat Burana, who needs no introduction. So beautifully bred filly. She is trying the poly track for the first time. Her first 5 starts were up on the high felt. I would say solid efforts, won the maiden well. First run out the maiden behind Chestnut Bomber, just didn't really fire that day. Then third in her penultimate start, 5 lengths of Tried and True. Good run, raced up handy, just didn't find that last bit. Then they relocated her to KwaZulu-Natal at Hollywoodbets Greyville in the yielding conditions, where young Sasianda Sasibo got the ride. And yes, she did finish 10 of 12, 7 lengths off Ice Rain, no show, so that was a flat run. She's rated 79. I'm sure that she's going to end up being better than a 79. They found Raymond Danielson to ride her. She does have an awkward draw. So for me, at around 12.5 to 1, 12 to 1, I think she could be worth a bit of a place bet. She's not my first choice, but I'm quite strong on her for a place Fireburst.
Well, if you look at her overall form, ignoring that last run, she certainly comes in with a decent each way chance. And as you mentioned, 12, 14 to 1, definitely one to go each way and for the exactors. So we'll throw in number 10, Fire Burst. This horse, number 6, Play With Fire, is quite interesting, the master of my fate. If you look at this individual, ran third to Flamboyant Flyer, then got closer, second to Flamboyant Flyer, and last time made up a lot of ground. Has gone up from a 70 to a 74, so those extra 4 points, that's a slight concern. She's going to be my second selection. I'm going to stick with a horse who's done me very well, in a stable who's really turned the corner, number 1, Off Limits, from the Louis Goosen stable. 2-time winner, and both victories have been on the poly. Now, 4 runs back, when she opened up 5 to 1, I thought it was an absolute gift. Backed her down 2 to 1, and she came through with flying colours. She's a horse who's got the potential. Looking at the distance, 1,800 metres, no problem. She's won over the 1,900. And quite interesting, I see the blinkers have been added, so we'll see if those stay on or they come off. The last run, second to Linger No More. The penultimate run, third to Way to Burn. So perhaps they thinking that they can get a little bit extra out of her. So just keep a close eye on the declarations. But from that one draw, I'm going to go number 1, Off Limits as the horse to beat. Your value horse number 10, Fireburst, as the exacta horse. And a horse like number 11, Lily Bell. If she'd been drawn a bit better, I'd throw this into all my bets, my exactas and trifectas, which I am going to do, but I can't be that confident from that outside gate, Warren.
Okay, and one other just to add into the mix, number 2, Queen Amina for Robbie Hill. Craig Zaki, who's certainly riding the crest of a wave, is Craig Zaki, cozily drawn. The first one out, the maidens for Queen Amina was good. She ran second to She's a Bomber. She just found one better on the day. She does make a polytrack debut. So as you can hear now, as we start to progress into the card, 1, 10, 6, 11, 2, those are the numbers that we're throwing around. But Sheldon's first choice is number 1, Off Limits, and she's a filly by William Longsword, loves the poly. Lots going for her. Louis Hurston stables firing on all cylinders. So Off Limits for Sheldon. I think just to close, the information that we want to pass on to you, besides those numbers of 1, 10, 6, 11 and 2, is that Sheldon's first choice is 1, Off Limits, and my place value selection is number 10, Fireburst.
Welcome back to race number 5, due off at 1500 hours, which will be contested over a distance of 1400 meters. And this is where things start to get quite tricky. And I think you've got to think outside the box when you look at these type of races. It's a D stakes over 1400 meters. And when you look at the best weighted column, number 4, the Supernova Star, who's at 14-1, is by far the best weighted horse, getting the claim off the back. Number 7, Copacabana's the second best weighted. Then we've got National Dream, Bally Magic, and Count Marsh. So think outside the box, and that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm thinking outside the box, and I'm going to tip a horse here that we've been following, and it's called Double Olympic, number 10. Once upon a time was a 92 in the ratings after winning first time out, which was far too high for Double Olympic. He has been an underachiever, but he's dropped down to a 60. And Warren, when looking at Double Olympic, when he first came to KwaZulu-Natal, he's a horse I said I'm going to have a little nibble on each time. 3-4 runs just to get a feel and get to know the horse. And I think that's the same from the stable, just to get a feel for Double Olympic. And I think dropping him down to the 1400 could be the winning recipe here. When he went the 2000 meters, too far. 2400 meters, far too far. And then last time 1800, slow, got into it very, very late on, and at 25-1, this is the day that I'm having a nice each way bet.
Oh, can you imagine if we take a place double, or we suggest a place double, Fireburst into Double Olympic, and they both arrive, we have the best February ever.
We can get 10-1 the place double and better maybe. So place
absolutely.
double could be the way to go. I know Double Olympic's going to be slow off. I'd like to see him jump and perhaps go to the front, maybe change tactics. I'm going to have a chat to Yogas Govender, see if the cheek pieces are going to stay on or they're going to try something different. But I know when he won first time out, I watched the replay last night 10 times over. I watched the interview, and the comments from Louis Mkotwa, who rode him first time out, is this is a horse who's going to be probably running in the features. But that's why they put him a 92. He's now racing off a 60. And this is last chance saloon for me. So 25-1, a nice place bet. And if he can get into the hunt, I believe he's a horse who is going to go very well. He was racing in the average rating of 94s and the big 90s. So in this company, I'm just hoping he can come back to his best.
Right, excellent. That's a nice outsider for us to put a big star next to. Of course, Louis Hurston we were talking about earlier on for the fourth race, but Yogas Govender's stable is also coming good. They've had a first and a third in the same race at Hollywoodbets Scottsville the other day. So lots of followers of Sheldon, 10 Double Olympic. My contribution to race 5 is not going to be much because it's that difficult. But there's one horse that I keep looking at, and that's number 5, McHardy. And I've spoken to Byron Foster before about this horse, and he says he's just not the most genuine in town. He's just not the most genuine. It's been 807 days since his last win. He was unlucky in his penultimate start. He's had valid excuses. His last run, he was finishing, but not finishing fast enough. So my contribution is going to be Respect 5 McCarty. Sheldon's value, Geechway value is 10 double Olympic. But it's a race where, ladies and gentlemen, if you can fill up and load up as much as you can, do that, because it's really that kind of race. So that's a wrap for the 5th race. My selection, 5 McHardy each way with not much confidence, 10 double Olympic each way, good value with Sheldon, and let's move on to the next race. Race number 6 on the card is the Follow Gold Circle on Facebook D Stakes for all horses with a net rating of 69 and below. 1,000 meters is the distance, 15:35 is the time. And at the time of recording, all 8 runners will face the starter. Bregart, Victor Rail, Prankster, Gorgeous Dude, Dressed to the Nines, T-Rex, Swiss Paradise, and Purple Powerhouse. Blinkers go on to T-Rex. Small field, but fairly competitive. A horse like Prankster could certainly go back to back. Gorgeous Dude, who I'm probably leaning Sheldon to as my narrow first choice. Last run was a fair effort. I'm not sure the strength of the form lines, but really 18-10 Prankster, around 7-2 Gorgeous Dude. I'm looking at those two to fight it out, but not confident.
Yes, number 4, Gorgeous Dude, from 5-1 down 7-2, so the anti-post support is there. And if the Son of Pomodoro is going to win another race, this is going to be the race, because it's not the strongest of fields. And when looking at the race over 1,000 meters, look at the best weighted column. Number 5, Dressed to the Nines, with the Appy on, will be the best weighted. Then number 7, Swiss Paradise. Prankster's right there, and then we go down to Purple Powerhouse and Victor Rail. So once again, one of those very, very open races. But just getting back to chatting about Gorgeous Dude, that run behind Rhythm last time out, I think that's good enough to win a race of this nature. And the Allison Wright yard holder, strong hanger. They got Purple Powerhouse number 8, who I think is also going to run a big race. And then number 2, Victor Rail. That's going to be my lurk at around 14-1. The reason being is that Damien Pillay is taking the 4 kgs off the back, so just 53 kilograms, draw 2. He's a big, strong son of Visionaire. He's been there or thereabouts, although he's been in 6th, 7th, 5th position. He's a horse that can pop up. So I'm hoping he races fresh over the 1,000. And if Damien Pillay can get him into the fray early on, I think he's a horse who could muddy the waters. Number 3, Prankster, the filly taking on the boys here. She will be shouldering 59 kilograms. So it's not going to be an easy ask. But last time out, she looked a good thing. But around the turn, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, it certainly was indeed. It was indeed a nightmare. But Sheldon, yep, the 6th race, for pick 6 purposes and PAs and all that goes with it.
Field.
No. Fair call, fair comment, fair response. Field, yeah. I suppose there's 8 runners at the time of recording. It's affordable to go field. Is that going to be our parting shot, field?
Field, there might be 1 or 2 scratching, so maybe 6 runners, and it'll bring the perm down.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good call, because it's that kind of race, field. But Sheldon's given us his lurker, 14-1, around 14-1, Victor Rail. This is the kind of race meeting that these lurkers can arrive, and look at the last race meeting, there were a couple of lurkers, Cotton Ron, around 20-1, that arrived. So there's certainly scope for that to happen today. But in closing, Sheldon's lurker number 2, Victor Rail, around 14-1. My numbers 3 and 4. Who's your first choice? Would your first choice be Victor Rail?
I wouldn't go as my first choice. I go number 4, Gorgeous Dude, as my first selection, ahead of Victor Rail. Take the exactas boxed in that, but certainly at 12-1, I think that Victor Rail could be the value.
Okay, that's it. That's us for race 6. 2 more to go.
Welcome back as we head into the final two events, races 7 and 8. If you're looking to play the last double on the card, race number 7 over 1,200 meters, and this is a class 5 for the fillies and mares over 1,200 meters. And just looking at the betting, number 5 Purple Flower 16 to 10, number 7 Sweet Julia at 3 to 1. The early money in for number 2 Drive By 5 to 1 down 4 to 1, and then number 4 Quintasia at 5 to 1. 7 to 1 Head Girl, and then at 16 to 1 and Better the Balance. Now when it comes down to race number 7, well, very, very competitive. You'll see later on when I go through my suggested bets that I have made number 4 Quintasia an each way selection. But when you look at number 4 Quintasia and you look at number 2 Drive By, that run behind On Board, not much to separate them. Drive By went for a rails run, just had to ease momentarily, and this is a 5-time winner. Absolutely lethal on the poly, gets the 4 kgs off the back, and the Louis Gerson outfit in absolutely red hot form. Number 4 Quintasia, Damien Pillay will take the 4 kilograms off. Still a 1-time winner and yet to win over the distance. If it was 1,000 meters, I'd be a lot more confident about number 4 Quintasia. But number 2 Drive By probably sets the standard. And then Purple Flower, after winning, beating Roy, taking off and running second to Colorado Creek, who's run an absolute blinder after that and coming through. And Purple Flower is going to be a huge runner. And then Warren Sweet Julia. When you look at this individual, Sean Veal's going to jump aboard, drop down to a 68. And if you look at the recent runs, the penultimate run against a 80 handicap, and then last time a 73. War Empress came out and won again, so that form's looking good. And I'm sure that Sweet Julia is going to be right there when the whips are cracking.
She has been ridden by Sean Veal once only some time ago, and unfortunately never featured on that occasion, so he'll be looking to improve that statistic. She seems to go 1,000, not the 1,200, but she's run okay over the 1,200 once. But I think as she's getting older and strengthening up, and she's certainly going to get the 1,200. Her form is solid, as you say. She ran 5th to War Empress. The video that was sent out on the group that we're on with Sweet Julia, her work was good in the lead up, so I'm sure that it's the race where she can really make her presence felt. You've discussed numbers 2, 4, 5, 7, and I think for pick six and jackpot purposes, there's, if anything else wins, we're going to be out, because not to sound like a copycat, 2 Drive By, 4 Quintasia, 5 Purple Flower, and 7 Sweet Julia are my numbers too. 2 Drive By and 7 Sweet Julia I'm expecting to fight it out. So 2, 4, 5, 7 for exotics. I don't think we need more than that.
I think we've covered all our bases there, and hopefully they come through with flying colours. And that's a wrap for race number 7.
Welcome back to the studio, where Sheldon and I are going to take you through the last race, and then we look forward to hearing what Sheldon's suggested bet is for the race meeting. The 8th race, ladies and gentlemen, is the Hollywoodbets Bright Future C Stakes, which is for all horses with a net rating of 83 and below. It's 1,200 meters. 16:45, 4:45 is the off. And recent maiden winner number 1, My Boy Lollipop, is the first choice of Jermaine Maharaj, which is the official tipster in the computer form. He was, this horse My Boy Lollipop, certainly an easy maiden winner, but he took his time to get it all right. He does get gate 1 first time out the maidens. Frank Robinson's horses are in good form, but I'd like to see, Sheldon, what My Boy Lollipop can do first time out the maidens. Competitive race again. Good old soldiers like Winter Waves, Hippocrates, Preemptive Strike. Voldemort's itching to win. He's never far off the action. He ran 4th to Turk Connell. Turk Connell's come out and won again. Voldemort. And this was Mac Dazzler. I was really losing patience with him, as were many. But then he won his maiden, and he absolutely thrashed the opposition. The strength of the field, well, I don't know about that, but what I do know is that he won well. Then I thought he's done his dash. That's Mac Dazzler. But his first run out the maidens was good. So I've got revitalized faith in him, and he's going to be my first choice. 10 Mac Dazzler from 9 Voldemort, but nowhere near as easy as that.
Well, Warren, when you look at the whole card, there's more questions than answers. Yes. So we're looking for some answers. It's each and every race that has a different look to it. And race number 8, this is a C stake. So if you look at the best weighted column, which is quite interesting, number 4, Godspeed, 5 points clear of My Boy Lollipop, 9 Voldemort, 2 Lash LaRue, and number 10 McDazzler. My first selection does not feature in the best weighted column. And another runner, like earlier on, El Capitan, we're going to see if it settles and goes the extra trip. Quintasia, I'd be more confident over 1,000. Double Olympics, been an enigma, hoping to bring back his best form. And I'm going for another horse. So it's either going to be a day where we're going to have a blank, or all these horses who've been frustrating to follow are going to come to the fore. And my first selection is a 14-1 shot called Super Fast, number 3 from the Tony Riverland stable. Now, after dropping back to the 1200 in the penultimate run, showed speed. They then went back to 1400, showed speed and lacked extra. Back to 1200, I said, now we're going to put the money on. And I see they've gone with the blinkers. I see blinkers have been added. He's a super fast horse naturally. So I'm just hoping that with the apprentice over the 1200 on the poly track, he has had a second and a third, that he can jump out and he can just settle and not overdo it too much. So at around 14-1, if you go back to his earlier form, he was running in the 84s and behind Don Karori, Kupaliwe. You mentioned Cotton Ron, who came out to win. He beat Cotton Ron. There's some nice names there. Connery, Stars in Heaven. So the form lines are good enough. And if Super Fast, if the apprentice can just get him to settle, he might go start to finish, or if he can get into a second rhythm, this is my value, Warren.
And you know, the most encouraging thing too, Sheldon, is that this young apprentice, Mkhulisi Mbuto, has ridden Super Fast twice before for an 8th and a 5th. But the point is that, you know, Tony's sticking with the young apprentice who I'm sure has worked this horse at home and is starting to learn all about Super Fast. So that's a huge positive in my opinion, that this kid is getting to know Super Fast, and that, you know, Tony's kept faith in this youngster to keep him on Super Fast. So at 14-1, absolutely, it's the kind of race, and we said from the beginning of the show that the second half of the race card was that kind of vibe. So absolutely, Super Fast is one that we're going to include in absolutely all our bets. What else can we talk about? This horse, Godspeed, ran second last time to a horse that's quite highly rated in Gauteng by the yard. Turffontein is where she ran. And finally, Bronkhorst's stable, ticking over nicely. The winners are going to start flowing soon.
100% right. One of those horses who could certainly bounce back, is the best weighted horse in the contest. And then, Warren, as you go through the field, number 5, Winter Waves, poly specialist, absolutely loves the surface. 4 kilograms off the back. Winter Waves has been exceptionally good to me. Then you go on to number 6, Hippocrates, another one who absolutely loves and grows an extra leg on the poly track. So you've got to throw this individual in. And then just getting back to number 1, My Boy Lollipop, who is priced up as the 3-1 favorite. He shoulders 61.5 kilograms. And the concern for me is the poly. If you go back in his form, not striding out, and then his penultimate run, he had a long break after pulling his flank muscle. So obviously we'll have to see the conditions of the day. We haven't been on the poly for quite a while. And a horse like this, he looks to be like a little bit of an unsound horse. So I'm not 100% sure if the polys are going to really suit him, but only the race will tell.
Yeah, you know, again, it's all about selection, it's all about choice, it's all about opinion. I'm not for one moment saying that My Boy Lollipop can't win. Of course he can. He's in the race and he's got a chance from gate 1. He's not my first choice. I'm on the fence with him. I know he won the maiden well, was never in any doubt. Real War, that's Dean Kanema's horse, who I think hasn't won yet. Is that right? So, yeah, there's a few, as you say, questions to be answered with My Boy Lollipop. Not my first choice. I wouldn't be shocked if he won, but I just want to see what he's going to do first time out the maiden. So that's the 8th and final race. Sheldon's going to come back to us just now and take us through his suggested bet. So without any further ado, we're going to wait for that, and we'll see you as always at the races in the number 1 box.
Welcome back. It's that time of the show where we go on to the suggested bets for the meeting at Hollywoodbets Greyville on the poly track. And as we bring up my slide, very testing day's racing. As you'll notice, the Class D's, Class C's and all those different class races, and I've elected to go with 2 each way bets with no degree of confidence. Race 7, number 4, Quintasia. I think this is a horse who could run an absolute blinder. If it is 1,000 meters, I would be a little bit more confident. And in the same race, Drive By. So I've liked 2 horses. I've gone Quintasia, but have a little bit of a cover bet on Drive By, in form Louis Goosen's stable. They were both 5-1 priced up. Drive By has shortened 4-1, and I believe these could be the 2 horses to fight it out. And then race 8, number 3, Super Fast at around 14-1. I think the trip's ideal, and if the blinkers don't have the adverse effect on this individual, he's a genuinely normal super fast horse. He comes out the gates, he wants to race, and if he goes well on the poly with those blinkers on, and the apprentice can just get him to settle into a good rhythm, I believe the 14-1 could be a nice each way play. So that's a wrap for the Hollywoodbets meeting. Hollywoodbets Greyville on the poly track. Best of luck to each and every one of you. Have a wonderful day's racing.